and welcome this afternoon to a webinar brought to you by United Women Singapore and 3M. I want to start off the afternoon session by first introducing myself. I'm Georgette Tan. I'm President of United Women Singapore, and it is with great pleasure that I am here with you. And I want to firstly thank 3M and the team, particularly led by Kevin McGuigan, for this opportunity to collaborate and to partner with us on what we consider one of our flagship programs, the Girls to Pioneers program, which is there to encourage girls to engage in STEM. Girls to Pioneers, the program started in 2014. So this is our 7th year. And every year it just grows from strength to strength. And over the years, we've actually reached out to over 26,000 girls here in Singapore through various means of participation and levels of engagement. And these are girls aged 10 to 16-year-olds. The idea here is to attract and retain young women in STEM, but in order to do so, we need to start them young. We need to get them to understand the value of a STEM education and how it can serve them later on in life. It's certainly in building their careers and moving into leadership positions especially. Really what it is we see it as paving the way to a more gender equal society, certainly, and perhaps addressing what we all know to exist today, even here in Singapore, the gender pay gap. One of the interesting things I wanted to kick off the session with is some STEM research that UWS conducted around this time last year, 1 year ago. The research studied girls and boys in this age bracket, and very clear findings, very interesting findings. And I'll summarize it in the three bullets. Firstly, it's not a competency issue for the girls. It certainly is not. It's a confidence issue. So we need to address the confidence level of girls in adopting and taking up STEM. The second one is the importance of family support. We found that boys got more family support when they wanted to take up STEM subjects, and girls got less support from family, immediate family. So that was a second interesting finding. And the third very interesting finding was that girls they wanted mentors, they wanted role models. So the more that we can provide them with these role models, the chances are increased in terms of getting them to engage in STEM and retaining them in STEM. So on this basis, I really want to thank 3M for this opportunity to work together. And it is my distinct pleasure to introduce our opening speaker this afternoon. It's Kevin McGuigan, and he is MD, 3M Southeast Asia, as well as country lead for Singapore. Kevin.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you, Miss Georgette Tan, for that beautiful introduction. And I'd also like to thank Professor Ong, as well as the distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, that are joining us here today. And I just want to start by saying how excited I am to take part in this webinar, because it's a very exciting topic for me. And I want to thank you for joining us in this launch of the partnership that we are fostering between 3M and United Women of Singapore. And I'm going to go through a couple of things that I want to really highlight, and one of which, as you touched on, Georgette, was the equity and the access to STEM education and how important it is to 3M. And for those that aren't familiar with 3M, we are a science-based company. It lies at the heart of everything we do. And we firmly believe that if you apply science in the right way, you can truly touch people across the entire world. And the spirit needs to be around making people's lives better. And when I look at it, we as an organization globally are dedicated to supporting the next generation of scientists and advancing STEM education, because we know that if we can do this, it has a contributing impact to the global community and the development of those individual communities. Now, I would be remiss to not say that, of course, COVID-19 and the pandemic that has come with that has had a devastating impact on education, and that's all around the world. And if you look at it from a statistical standpoint, roughly 11 million girls are expected not to return to school even after the pandemic is over. And that to me is very startling as a father to 2 daughters and 1 boy. And when you look back at what 3M has been doing, we did have a global science perception study that we put out. It's known as 3M's State of Science Index. We did that in 2020. And what we found is, despite the increased recognition of STEM due to COVID-19, the startling statistic is that 17% of Singaporeans reported having been discouraged from pursuing science in school, which is alarming to us. And I feel that it's up to all of us and others that aren't taking part in this to do our part to turn that around and drive encouragement. You know, as I mentioned, I have 2 daughters, and I can't imagine them not being able to learn in school or having good opportunities to explore STEM. And I feel that we truly are blessed here in Singapore, where the pandemic has been controlled, unlike where I'm from, let's say in the United States, where they haven't had as tight of and consistent of government restrictions in place to really get it under control. And so with this in mind, it truly is a call for all corporations to step up their efforts in a way that they have not traditionally done so that we can turn the tide. So when I look at the partnerships and 3M's contribution to Girls to Pioneer program, what I think is important for folks to know is that the funding for our primary social investment arm, what's known as 3M Gives, is where we're receiving our money, and that is how we're partnering with United Women Singapore for their Girls to Pioneer program. And it's this program, you know, with that focus and that aim to advance STEM education for girls, and particularly those that have disadvantaged backgrounds, and really nurture that next generation of women that we have in the field. And I feel this is meaningful because it resonates very deeply with us being 3M. And that's why we're contributing resources and empowering our employees. It's not just money, but empowering our employees to volunteer their time and the talent that they have to help drive this program. And so altogether, we are organizing a 6-month STEM mentorship program involving these 3M employee volunteers, as well as having several hands-on day camps and virtual field trips to 3M's Customer Technical Center, which, if I can explain it, it's like a playground that showcases our 52 technologies that we have in our technology platform. It gives students the opportunity to go in and touch and feel and experiment with the things that 3M has under our umbrella. In addition to that, we do have online workshops and dialogues organized by the United Women Singapore. And what's important is these will commemorate the all-important International Day of Women and Girls in Science. So we're excited about that. And I think it's important to note that we are confident that the latest addition to 3M's diverse ecosystem of educational partnerships will go a long way in advancing STEM education here in Singapore and really support driving that diverse pipeline of talent for generations to come. So let me just offer some thanks here to our esteemed speakers, the students, and all of you that are present to help join us in today's dialogue session, because I know it will be fruitful based on the research I have done on every one of the panelists that we have. And given our current conversation with this climate, I think the conversation is far more relevant than ever. And I personally am super excited to learn more about everyone on how we can advance STEM education, how we increase equality, and how we encourage the next generation of women in this field. So thank you to United Women Singapore for partnering with us and hosting this important dialogue session today. As I said prior to this event kicking off to Gurdette, is that these are the types of events we want to get involved in because it truly helps advance our communities, and that is what we are all about. So just to wrap things up, we should remember that advancing STEM education and equality cannot be achieved by just one organization alone. And that is what is so beautiful about all of us coming together. And so now, how do we create a groundswell with other public and private partners that we can bring in to help drive this forward? And so on behalf of 3M, as I said, I am very excited to have this opportunity. Our incredible partnership will help us to play an even greater role in providing high quality STEM education programs and encouraging the next generation of women in this field. So here is to a great dialogue session and a very fruitful partnership. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Kevin. Inspiring words and clearly leading the company definitely in the right direction. We love the partnership. We love the enthusiasm and the keenness. But most probably the most important is that recognition that this is something that is good for your employees, good for the organization, and as well so beneficial to the girls who so desperately need this. So thank you for that. And let me swing right away into introductions, quick introductions of our panelists. I've already said that Kevin is the MD of 3M Southeast Asia and country lead for Singapore. Double hatting, Kevin, that's a tough job, huh?
You know, there are certain aspects that can be a little challenging, but I'd say more than anything, you know, bolting on a local job in addition to my regional job has been great because it now affords me the opportunity to better engage with Singapore and get out in the community, because in the past we had a country leader on my team that did that. So I actually feel a lot more connected.
There you go. And I'm very, very happy to announce the next panelist, somebody who's very, very dear to United Women Singapore and who's been a great advocate, supporter, friend, is Professor Ong So Khim. She is Associate Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering at NUS. And she is, I'm so thrilled to tell you, one of our first ambassadors of the Girls to Pioneers program when we first started this in 2014. So Kim is no stranger to us, and we love her generosity and support, and she's always there to ready to stand and be called on when we need somebody to talk to the girls. Also on the panel, we have two lovely STEM-inspired ladies here too. So we have Gwen Lee, who is Environmental Health and Safety Engineer with 3M Singapore. And we also have Claryn Ng, who is Principal Application and Development Engineer for 3M Southeast Asia. So that's a great panel. I know I'm going to get very excited about speaking to all of them. So Kim, if you let's get this ball rolling. If you can, in the next 1 minute, kind of sum up a little bit about yourself, how you got started in STEM, and then we'll go around across the panel. So Kim.
Okay, so let me start. I just now Kevin mentioned something about disadvantaged background, and yeah, I came from a disadvantaged background. I was very poor. My family lived in a one-room apartment when I was small. So I came from a very disadvantaged background, and I started working in a factory when I was in secondary school in JC. And that's how I got to know about engineering, and that's how I chose engineering, and that's how I'm in engineering now. So yeah, that's introduction of me. And I teach in NUS now, yes.
Well, so Kim, you are an inspiration to so many young girls, really. Thank you. Kevin, a little bit more about yourself and how you get involved in the STEM space.
Yes, of course. I would be happy to speak about that. So a little bit of background about me, just in full transparency. I am a second generation 3M employee. My father worked at 3M for 35 years, and it's the only company I ever wanted to work at. And what I would say is I learned from a very young age about our culture and the importance of really inclusion and treating people with utmost respect. And so what I saw in growing up in this environment is that everybody had a voice. And so the way I really have stepped into my role in helping with STEM is to really drive the empowerment of employees, to really promote from the top the importance of STEM, the importance of volunteering. If you are somebody that is anxious to offer your skills, and then really marrying them up with the right people out in the community to make sure that we're showing that we're doing everything we can to cultivate that within the organization and outside of the organization. And I will say it transcends not just within the company, but it comes to my home as well, and trying to engage my kids to learn more and get involved in fun science-based projects at home.
Thank you, Kevin. Let's go on to Gwen. Gwen, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Gwen. Yeah, I come from a very large family where I have 4 siblings, and including myself are 5. So I'm the eldest in the family. So interestingly, among the 5 siblings, among 5 of us, it's only my younger sister and myself are pursuing a STEM career here. So I started to explore the science and maths in the school, during school day. So after that, I have internship in textile mills, where I explore into the technologies and innovation to produce the garments. Yeah. Then subsequently, when I graduated with a bachelor degree in environmental science, so I decided continue my career into STEM because I feel that this is being relevant to what I study. So this is about myself. Yeah, thank you, Georgette.
Thank you, Gwen. That's a great story. We'll come back to a little bit more of that a little later on. And last but not least, Claryn, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Claryn. So I hope that today I'm very happy to be invited here. I hope I can inspire the younger generation. So I'm actually trained from chemical engineering. So during my time, I'm only one of the 5 girls in the class. So I have a very encouraging mom who believes that as long as it's something that I like and I would like to do, we can do it. So I think it's very important to have the self-awareness of what we want and never give up. So I hope that later I can share a little bit more on the personal touch and inspire the young ones here. Thank you.
Thank you, Claryn. That's great. And again, I think you're the living example of, when you get support from the family, that makes such a huge difference, right? Absolutely. Okay. Before we commence with the panel discussion, just a word to our audience out there. Should you have any questions that you'd like to raise with the panel or specific panelists, please use the chat function or the chat function or the Q&A function to send in the questions. And we'll try to obviously get to them as quickly as possible, and we'll try to answer them as much as we can. Right. If one of us can't, then perhaps another one will take over. Great. Let's get the ball rolling really quickly. And I guess the first question is, what should organizations do to attract more young women into STEM and into their careers and to retain them specifically? How do you first attract them and then retain them? Kevin, let's throw that open to you from the 3M perspective. What do you think needs to be done?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. So let me start with attract, and then I'll get into retain. And I'll really speak about what it is that we are doing at 3M. And I would say one of the primary avenues is making sure that we foster close relationships with universities and technical institutions to really get out in front of the students, to educate them on what it is that 3M does, because we are a large multinational company with 55,000 different products, and so many associate 3M with Post-it notes, Scotch tape, Scotch-Brite scouring pads, which is okay, but that's just a small subsegment of the 55,000 products we make that get into very technical fields. And we have a technology platform of 52 different technologies. And so as a part of attracting, it's getting out into the community and really educating on what it is that 3M does, really driving home to them that spirit of curiosity that 3M operates with. And, you know, with that, helping them understand how we at 3M, you know, have a real strong philosophy around how we drive innovation at the company. As an example, our technical employees have what's known as 15% time, where they basically have 15% of their time to work on any project they want to with the technologies that we have. And it all ties back to how we solve problems. I mean, if you look at our vision statement at 3M, it's all about technology, products, and innovation, advancing, enhancing, and improving companies, every home, and every life around the world. And so we need to continue to drive getting that message out there with university collaboration, as well as job fairs and virtual trade shows. So getting that net out there is so important. And then once we're able to capture that talent and let them see the things that we as an organization can bring to these students and potential employees around STEM, is driving retention. And if I look at 3M, we have some great employee resource networks. One example would be our new employee opportunity network, where if you've been with the company here in Singapore for under 3 years, you're teamed up with roughly 200 other employees that are in the same situation as you, so that you can really lean on them to understand what 3M is all about, because we are a very diverse company. And if you couple that with, I would say, by far one of the strongest organizations with 3M, which is known as our technical forum, this is where like-minded people get together, they share best practices, they find and assign mentor and mentee relationships so that we can get that person integrated into our culture as fast as possible, so that they feel included and they feel they have access to the things they need to be successful in their career at 3M.
That's great. So Khim, from your perspective, you know, in academia, you're seeing girls, young women come through. What's your reaction? Is there more of a trend that there are more women these days? Do they stay? Are they, you know, increasing in numbers, or do you see them falling by the wayside?
Well, over the years, I have been in academia for 25 years. And over the years, there has been progressive increase in percentage. So let me give you a comparison. Myself as an undergraduate, there were only 10 girls in a cohort of 120 girls. But now we are seeing a quarter of the girls among a total cohort of 350. So we are getting more girls now. We're getting more female students in mechanical engineering, but discipline like chemical engineering, environmental engineering, in those disciplines, we see a steady intake of female students. So I think it's the subject matters, because typically mechanical engineering is seen as very dry, very hard. You know, it's factory, it's production, but that is just a misconception. It's not. It's really not like this. But over the years, we have seen more. And if what can an organization do to attract more female into STEM? One thing I would like to add on to what Kevin has said is that perhaps industry can provide very specific scholarship for female students in the IHL, in the higher institute of higher learning. Because what happened now, as far as I know, there are many scholarships there for engineering studies in the university, but there aren't any that is designated for female students. So if we can have scholarship designated for female students, particularly for those from a disadvantaged background, I think we can encourage more female students to pursue engineering at the university level. So this is something that I would like to propose to Kevin. Yes.
Kevin, you're supposed to say challenge accepted.
I think, you know, I didn't want to jump in too quick. Somebody else was going to, but yeah, accepted. I mean, I think what I love about 3M and our culture is diverse perspective is what is going to bring this forward faster, because it's about getting education from you, Ms. Ung, to say, here is something, Professor Ung, this is what you could be doing, and then how do we take and amplify that messaging to other multinationals to get them to also follow suit? I love it. It's great.
Yes. Good. Challenge taken.
There you go. Productive already, and if we've only just started. Gwen, you mentioned earlier something about you did an internship. Tell us a little bit about that internship and how that played into you progressing and making it a career.
Okay, yeah, I just now I heard what Professor Ong said about scholarship, right? So maybe let me to share a little bit about my experience. So when I started my degree in the university, at the point of time, because being the eldest, I still have 4 siblings who also still under study. So what happened during that point of time, also I get a study loan. Yeah, so until the end of the year, I managed to get a good result. So what I do is I appeal to convert the study loan to become a scholarship. So for the entire, the entire study life, I enjoy the free study. So this is something that to share with the girls here also. Don't give up and believe that you can do it. Yeah. So let me to share about like what Georgia asked about internship. Okay. So during my university time, so I have opportunity to have an internship program in the textile mill. Okay, which is a manufacturer for the garments and clothing. Okay, for renowned international brands such as Levi's, Disney, and Gap. Okay, so I think that at about or time, right, the internship is actually an eye-opening for me. It's really an eye-opening experience for me because it's actually a lot of learning opportunities, especially in the STEM area and also innovations. Okay, so ranging from water treatment technology until fabric testing and also the product safety as well. Also, it's actually involved a lot of STEM. So it's not like what we imagine, a piece of fabrics, just sewed it and then come up with a piece of clothes. That's all I need. Yeah, I think this is inspired me, and that's why it's encouraged me. To continue with a STEM career because I feel that I can able to make some change as well, also to the society and industry as well. Also, yeah.
Great, thank you for sharing. Claryn, let me ask that question because you talked about the great support that you had from your mother. Was this the same support that you got from the rest of the family? Obviously, it's very inspiring.
No.
Oh, okay. Tell us
I
about
think
this.
I actually lead you to ask this question for me. Yeah, but actually, to be honest, my dad is very traditional. So he believed that being a girl, I should help out in the family business and I should go and study a business degree instead of like so immensely interest in the engineering and especially chemical engineering. So what happened here is actually from young, my mom actually inspired me a lot. So when I ask about questions, I guess when we were young, we were not so we can't access to internet. So there are a lot of things that we need to either read from books or learn from the real life experience. So some things that I would like to share is, like for instance, I'm very curious about how come caterpillar can turn into a butterfly. So my mom actually bring me to the park and we actually, catch the caterpillar and we see the life cycle of the butterfly. So this is something that actually inspired me and probably to also build my curiosity. So from there, and then I also wonder why is it that the colors when mixed become another color, and what are the primary colors, the secondary colors. So these are very simple real life experience that we can actually do it. And when I'm studying chemistry, I have a very big challenge learning the molecular and the structures. I'm sure the student here will really find that, oh my God, why is it that it's so tough? So what my mom did is she used Play-Doh and with the matchstick to stimulate the molecular structure for me. And that's really helped me to really understand. So I find that for STEM, it's just a term, but I think we really need to relate to real life, very simple tasks, simple things. So everything starts from simple. And I think right now I'm very happy that I'm in 3M and doing application engineering. It really helps me in terms of like doing project to project basis, and we get inspired to do new things. So this is really a right company for me. Yeah.
So, Claryn, on that point, because you said that your father wasn't so keen, how did you get over this challenge of convincing your father?
I have to prove to him. Yeah, so what I did is my dad feels that probably I am just, just talk it out and think, how can a girl really be so interested in engineering? And this is something that probably a guy can do much better. So what I did is I show results. I think no result, by talking, you can't really show. So that's life, right? Even if we are studying or we move on to our career, we need to show results. But so I actually have a good talk with my dad. So my dad was saying that if you are really interested in this, then probably you really need to show good results. So I told him I will take triple pure science to show him that I'm really, really keen in the science and technology. So and with that, I finally get into Chem Eng. This is something that I want, and yeah, that's about it. And I think I convinced him, and right now he is pretty happy.
I'm sure he's very, very proud of you. You might be taking a little credit for the fact that he's inspired you too, though, right?
Yeah. So right now I kind of like tap a little bit on his business. So we talk a lot because he's more business trained. Right. So he actually guide me along in terms of the business aspect. So I can have, fundamentally, I know the engineering, and with the aid of the business aspect, it really helps me even for my career today. Yeah.
That's great. And I love the fact that communication came into play for this.
Yes.
Because it was actually talking to your father, engaging your father, winning him over, obviously stepping up, proving, but a communication. I'm from a communications background, so, 2 thumbs up for communication.
Yes, that's right.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that.
No
story.
problem.
So Khim, let me go back to you in this question. Clearly having that STEM foundation is so critical. Yes. Speak to us about continually improving oneself, lifelong learning, and obviously keeping on top, because technology, innovation, all these things keep changing. It's so dynamic. It's not static. So how do young women stay on top of it?
Okay, just think about continuing learning. Just last night over the news, I heard about this particular member of the parliament. He mentioned that, typically Singaporean beyond the age of 40, since the age of graduation to the age of 40, they stop learning, they stop studying, and they stop upgrading themselves, they stop learning. Now, learning is so important. And as a lecturer in NUS, learning is even more important, because I can tell you what I teach 25 years ago is no longer what I'm teaching now, because technology changed and I cannot stand still. I have to unlearn, relearn. So that's how I keep abreast of new technology. And I believe that not just women, men and women, you have to constantly learn, constantly upskill yourself, constantly keep abreast of what is happening. So, reading around, joining technical forum to understand what is happening. And that is actually very important, because that equip yourself so that anytime you can go on to a new project, you can go on to a new, job, for example. So that actually is very important. So continual learning, lifelong learning is something that we hope to instill in our students in the university too. And I myself, I have to learn and really learn and learn. And now I'm trying to learn Python. I'm trying to learn programming too. Although I've been teaching for 25 years, but I still want to learn. Yeah, and I still want to do my, Arduino programming and all those things. So I still want to do it. Yeah.
Good for you, Khim. So Kevin, let me throw a question. You have 2 daughters, is that right? Is that what you said?
2 daughters and a son, yes.
Right. So how do you inspire your 2 daughters to get interested in STEM?
Yeah, I think it's a great question because one daughter is 12, the other will be 4 in March. And so when I think about it with my 12-year-old daughter, the thing that probably comes up the most would be just like fun activities where they make a paper mache volcano, and then we add in all the dye and the correct ingredients to get the volcano to go. Or an even simpler one is taking the can of Coke and putting Mentos inside it and seeing it explode.
Yes, we've all done that one.
Yes, and I think, you know, that as well as even just Legos with both the 12-year-old as well as the 4-year-old have been a big part of just teaching logic, following instructions. And I see it in especially my 12-year-old because she's naturally gravitated towards math and she enjoys math. And if I look at my 4-year-old, you know, it was great, Claryn, when you were talking about colors because, you know, this weekend my daughter was out in the driveway painting and, you know, asking the questions, what happened to the color? Because she doesn't, you know, paint in the line. So the colors are changing, and trying to explain that to her has been something that's very fun. And she has just a natural curiosity. Last night, we were spending time, just the 2 of us playing, and I found a beetle in her hair as she was swimming. So I took it out, and just her curiosity around, can we bring the beetle in? No, well, you know, the beetle has a mom and dad, and then the beetle was trying to bore into the ground. But, you know, just trying to engage her. And I don't have a strong science background at all. It's sales and marketing, but at least having a conversation with her and then going inside to try to do the research and, oh, this is what the beetle was doing, or that's why the color was changing when you mixed orange together with blue, you know, just to try and educate her. I don't know how much she takes away at the age of 4, but if there's one thing she does take away, she's interested. And so from my perspective, it's all about showing the support. And to what we found out in the State of Science Index that we conducted in 2020, I want them to feel comfortable. I want them to feel encouraged that regardless of where their skills lie, they can learn new skills and they can step into being someone that pursues a career in STEM or an education in STEM.
Well, on behalf of all of us, we thank you for being a great role model yourself and a great dad.
Oh, thank you. It's
allowing
fun.
your kids do that.
Fun.
And having fun at the same time. So I think clearly the takeaway is that, you know, keeping it simple, keeping it going back to the basics and starting young. That's the difference, right? You get that natural curiosity and to maintain and keep that curiosity going.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw a question to both Gwen and Claryn. Did either of you have mentors along the way? Whether, do you currently have one within 3M, or do you have somebody from outside who also helped guide you along the way? Gwen, why don't you go first?
Okay, so I think talk about mentorship. I think since young, so I think my parents have provided me a very supportive environment. Where initially I actually not so take STEM so serious, but then they actually continue to encourage me. They don't object. What I learned. Okay, they still even though they do not know much about STEM. Okay, but they still continue to encourage me to go beyond my limits. Yeah. So during school days, I think I am grateful that I have good mentor to guide me along and actually to not only based on textbook, they're actually using real life case study to relate on what we study from the textbook and try to ask us to interpret. Okay, so this is about it. So what I learned in the school, interestingly, I will bring back to home. I share with my family members, but because what we learn is more on scientific terms, so I convert it into simple language, usual words, and try to relate to our daily life. Okay, I will ask, okay, why like that? But sometimes I was challenged by those tougher questions. They will ask much more deeper. So what made me, is to continue is I will try to look for an answer. to close the gap of knowledge. Yeah, this is about me. So I will try to read more because during at a point of time, internet is not so popular yet compared to now where you can just go internet, Google search, and there will be answer for you. So I try to find out more, I mean, to provide an answer and to satisfy my curiosity as well also. Yeah, so this is about school day. Then when I come to internship, and I think during my first career, I think I have a good mentor, who actually provide guidance to me, who inspired me to go beyond my limits. Yeah, so I mean the mentor is usually will let me to do to take out the challenge, to try out until really that I cannot make it, right? Then only the mentor will come out or to provide some directions. Not give you the answer, but give you direction. So encourage you to go further, to find out the answer for yourself. Yeah, so I think I appreciate that. I mean, I've been grateful that I have a supportive and a supportive mentor and a leader as well also. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Claryn, what about yourself? Do you have any mentors currently?
Yes. So actually my mentor from young is my auntie, because she's an educator. So because of that, she's very supportive in understanding a child needs. So from young, she actually gave ideas to my mom to do activities for me, because at that time there is no such thing like parents workshop and stuff. So my mom, what she did is she would either borrow books from the library to actually helps me in my learning. And a lot of times our families are very vocal, as what Kevin has shared. So we are actually feel free to voice out what we want, what we need, and there's a lot of communication within the family members. Then as I move on to my education, I do have a very good private tutor. So she actually is kind of like a friend of my mom. So she do it like kind of voluntary to privately taught me in terms of, because for certain understanding of the context, especially in terms of science and mathematics, is quite a challenge. So she's there to actually guide me along. So what she did is she actually taught me the concept. So learning the concept, understanding it in a very interesting manner. So with that, you don't need to memorize. That's the key. So a lot of kids, they find that textbooks are very dry. In fact, we are from an environment where there's no computers. So we really read a lot of books, but how to make it more interesting? So we learn to draw. So something that I learned is from my art teacher. So I take up classes from arts. So we learn how to draw in school. So from there, we draw to understand. So we do a map out, like how it branch out. And in terms of, like, for instance, if you learn the anatomy of the body, because we can't visualize the 3D, so we actually draw out to understand. So by drawing, you learn from the drawing, then it's easier to remember. And then when during exam, you can actually produce it well because you have the picture in your mind. So I think all these people happening in my life actually make an impact to who I am today. And of course, in 3M, I also have very good mentors that actually help me and give me the opportunity to grow. So that's make who I am today. But I think in short, we really need to know what we want. That's the key. And something that is very difficult, think it in a more simple way, and you will be able to achieve. Yeah.
Thank you. That's actually a really good tip. Bringing it back to the basics, simplifying it, but again, doing it in such a way that it's applicable. Right?
Yes.
Absolutely. I think that's great. Now, you know what? I'm seeing the questions come in fast and furious. So we're gonna take some of these questions here, and I'm gonna throw it open to the panel. If any of you feel that you would like to answer it, just jump in. I think it's even more fun. If not, I don't want to have to kind of point a finger and say, why don't you answer it? So okay. So actually, it's a question through 3M. So no, maybe Kevin, you might want to take a look at this. How do you encourage learning and mentorship amidst deadlines and business priorities? So on the one hand, business deadlines, got to get their deliverables, right? We all know that's important. But how do you balance all that with, again, lifelong learning, mentorship, this cultivation of giving also too?
It's a great question, and certainly prioritization comes into it, but you also have to look at aspects related to retention of employees. And that's where, when I look at it from the standpoint of our technical community in particular, the company has had that long-standing 15% time that I spoke about earlier. That 15% time is sacred, especially in our technical community, that says 15% of an employee's time at work can be spent on working on whatever they want. So they may be in the personal safety division, but they might go off and spend 15% of their time working on something in our traffic safety division or in our adhesives group. And so that is something that really helps the employees to unplug from those day-to-day priorities that they have and improve their own knowledge of the technology platform that we have at 3M. And to also help them, really lean into areas that maybe they have a greater interest in. And that's where we find those uncommon connections between the different technologies that we have to drive the solution that we bring to so many of our customers around the world.
Thank you. So Khim, you're nodding. So Khim, you're nodding in great agreement here. What do you want to chime in here? You're on mute.
I just thought that this question on meeting deadlines and so forth, it's the same thing as we have in the university where we teach. We have deadlines and we also have research priorities and so forth. But we also come in to encourage learning, mentorship, and I make it a point to talk to students to get them to know what is happening, and we also have programs at the university that match students with volunteers from the industry. Yes, so we match them, and then depending on what the student requests for, the student may be from chemical engineering requesting for a mentor for chemical engineering, then we will look for mentor who volunteer from this industry. So likewise, we have also volunteers from the electrical and computer engineering background. We also have mentors from the civil engineering background. And then we match them and we allow them to then find out more for themselves, that if they graduate from civil engineering, what kind of jobs can they have, what kind of prospect can they have. And that's actually very important, because if you don't have such awareness of what is out there, you're not going to like what you're studying at the university. Yeah.
So Gwen, how do you manage this prioritization? How do you manage deliverables and deadlines and clients, whether internal or external, and at the same time, progress in the STEM space?
Yeah, I think maybe to share a little bit, in my experience. So I have been working in the industry for about 14 years. So during, this period, right, of course, we have a lot of projects need to be run, and also a lot of works to meet the timeline, and especially to those, business, there is a timeline, they have to meet with the customer, and also some we have project with the government, we have to meet the timeline. So what I do, right, so I will continue, to be focused during work hours, to continue to drive focusing at work, and try to complete whatever I can as soon as possible, and prioritize those which is important and urgent. Yeah, I think this is important. So try to prioritize those tasks. And then, like what Professor Ong said is very true, continue lifelong learning is important. So throughout this period, I also taking out some part-time courses. For example, like especially diploma in safety and health, and then like fire safety managers, and then adult learning in training and assessment. So how I manage it is I do it after work. So after work hours, I continue to have night classes, and So I try to manage it. So what I do is I also like will do some sacrification also. Let's say I have some work that have not completed yet and there's very short timeline. So I will try to do it. I mean, like my own time during weekend. So we have actually, in 3N culture, we actually have flexibility arrangement. So where we can, we can juggle both our work and also our training courses as well also. Yeah, but I think this is very encouraging as an organization, right, where 3N continue to encourage us to, continue to learn. And eventually, actually, in 3N itself, we also have a number of training platform who actually allow us to follow our own pace to learn. And when we have any questions, right, we actually can consult to the subject matter expert or the trainer itself. Yeah, so this is how I manage it. Of course, stress it will have, but however, we have to learn how to manage it. Yeah, and that's important. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing, Gwen. I see a couple of questions, actually 3 questions that relate to education and the need to start earlier, reaching out to families with no financial or education resources. In other words, the marginalized and the disadvantaged. But also, how is it that what we need to do to turn things around, I think undertake gender sensitization, I think was how Madhu has actually phrased it, requires a lot of unlearning that enables girls to access science, presumably STEM. So how do we do that? Kevin, you want to take a stab at that?
So it's a long question. Is there one area you would like me to really focus on, like around unlearning? What?
Sure, we'll start there.
Yeah, so I think unlearning becomes very important, and I believe Professor Ung, you brought it up as well in an earlier comment around unlearning, and at 3M we are very familiar with unlearning because we are a company that is constantly changing and evolving as the market continues to change, as our customers continue to change. And so I think the important aspect of that is really taking an inward look at yourself and understanding where your skills and your experiences lie, as well as where you want to continue to build your skills and experience, and knowing that you can't continue to just build this huge list of skills and experience and be a subject matter in each one of them. You need to unlearn some of those and step away from them and say, okay, I'm going to be more of a generalist. I can always go back and get information on that if I need to, but I need to free some space up and time up to really focus on what is the most relevant for me based on what the customer is looking for or what I'm looking to build out to further my career, because we're firm believers in you can't do everything. You need to focus on those things that you want to do especially well to unlock your talent and solutions for our customers. And it's an important one that has to not just be with the individual employee, but I believe the conversation needs to take place with your peers, with your direct supervisor, with your mentors, to really understand and triangulate it. Are these the right decisions, and do you have perspective you can offer me to make sure that I am fully convinced I'm doing the right thing?
So Claryn, did you have ever encounter a situation when you had to unlearn something or change your point of view?
Of course, we need to unlearn. Yeah, because in life it's not always smooth sailing, right? So we really need to unlearn, and to really unlearn and relearn, the gap is quite a challenge that we need to overcome. So I think firstly, we need to have more self-encourage. You need to really self-encourage yourself. So what happened here is when I was doing in my university, so for engineering, we need to learn programming. So I already know, so we study very hard to learn the programming and stuff. So we do a lot of like the details of the programming, which I will not elaborate more. So it is, but after university, I actually throw everything away because I have already passed and graduate, right? But because of during one of my during my first career in Nestle R&D Center, so I was asked to do some programming stuff. So that's where I am stuck. I was like, so I cannot tell my supervisor that I am engineering trained, but I have already forgotten how to do the programming because this is something that I don't like during my school days. So I have to really relearn everything. So I have to read up, but thankfully, thanks to YouTube, so it helps me a little to speed up the relearn portion. So and that's how we actually get the whole program being set up to do the simulation for some of our testing. So yes, every point of your stage, there is always a learn and relearn. Yeah, but I think the key is we need to stay calm and don't give up. Yeah,
that's great. I see that there have been a number of questions around how do we engage the Ministry of Education? How do we start earlier? What do we need to do to make a real difference? I think what's been happening today is already the first step in the right direction, which is this collaboration between UWS and 3M, and 3M stepping up to this and saying, we want to be a part of this. You want to bring these girls on this pathway of progress, right? And to ensure their success and to put their resources behind it, the most precious resource, the staff time, commitment. I think we can't ask for more than that. We all know that the Ministry of Education has a very rigorous curriculum all the way through, which is why, UWS has this program, the Girls to Pioneer STEM program, which is outside of school hours, right? Which is also, online, so that you can do it at your own leisure. The idea here is to embellish and to augment what is taking place already in school, but at the same time, to keep it as simple and applicable as our panelists have been emphasizing all throughout the last half hour, making it fun, making it applicable, making it real, I think is important. Right, I think we've, so any of you who actually would like to participate in this, let Kevin know, all right? I'm throwing them in your direction, Kevin.
Sounds great.
Yeah, he's again, challenge accepted. There you go. We like that. Yeah. So I know we're coming up to 3:30. So I'm just going to throw out one last question to all of you. If there was one piece of advice, or maybe two pieces of advice that you could now kind of, impart at this point, whether it's, would you have done something different, or as a word of advice to people, young girls coming into the program or thinking about moving, what would it be? Let's start with Claryn.
Wow, I didn't expect that I'm the first one.
Gotta keep on your toes here, right?
Okay, I shall start. Okay, so I understand that you girls here, the participants, are very young. So this is an age that you might not be very clear what you want. That's okay, right? That's really, really okay. We've been through, right? So once you know what you want, stay firm, don't give up, and get help. Be brave to ask for help, to ask for teachers, to ask to really try out our mentorship program. And probably there will be some point in time where you meet someone that can really guide you along. But I think the key still lies with our own individual call. So we really need to be clear what you want and persevere and be diligent. Then you will see the result and you will feel satisfied. Yeah.
That's good advice. Be brave and ask, and don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah.
Gwen, what about your thoughts?
Yeah, I would like to encourage all of the girls here, to enjoy every process of learning and right from the beginning. So try to, enjoy the learning farm, and also make STEM alive rather than textbook oriented. Yeah, this is what I thought. And I think you all are very, you all are very lucky that you have UW as have all these initiatives to encourage you to, in the STEM. Compared to our time, at the point of time, in the early of 90s, it's very difficult to get such program compared to now. Yeah, so I think it's a very good opportunity for all. So before I end this, then maybe I encourage everyone, to be bold, be brave, and also believe in yourself. So let me maybe share a little bit about myself. Okay, at the point, prior to become a health and safety professional, I used to be a chemist. So I used to be a chemist to provide technical training and assessment to my colleagues who are working in oil and gas laboratories. Okay, so one of these lab is very special. Okay, so this laboratory located not on the land, but on board the ship tanker. So it's on board the ship. So this ship, right, is actually located at an open sea. Okay, so the height is about 10-story height. And also how usually people go out is using a wooden pilot ladder. So you have to fly up. Okay, so then at the point of time, almost 100% of the workforce are male or men. Okay, however, I'm telling myself that it's okay, let's try out the new setup and learning the challenge on how scientific analysis on oil that can be done. Yeah, I think it's very, very important for us to be confident in ourselves and also to be brave to try out all these, to explore ourselves to new setup, new environment, and one day we can be success. Yeah, so this is the sharing that I would like to share with all of the girls here.
Thank you, Gwen. It's good to stay open to all these opportunities and new experiences and to be brave and step up. So Khim, one piece of advice or thought?
2 pieces.
Okay, excellent, 2.
Okay,
this is So Khim. We know her. We ask for something, she over delivers. That's what we love about So Khim.
So the first piece of advice to the younger female girls is, it's okay to be different. So I want the girls to know this message. It's okay to be different. You know, sometimes the girls think that I cannot be this because I'm a girl. I have to like this because I'm a girl. I think it's important to know that you can be different. You can like football, it's fine. You can like to open up a tower fan, it's fine. It's okay. You know, so this is the first advice, is it's okay to be different. The second piece of advice that I would like to offer is not just to the girls, but to 3M, to parents who are in this panel as well, that, you know, parents do go along with your children to day camps, to workshop, to outreach activity, because I think it's important for the parents to know that the engineering today is not the same as the engineering 30 years ago. You know, the engineering 30 years ago, we don't have all the technologies, but now it's different. We have 5G, we have Internet of Things. So the engineering now is different, and the engineering career now are different. So the parents do go along, go to 3M and see what is in 3M. You know, go to the other engineering companies and see what is there. Then you will then, you know, be wholeheartedly encouraging your children to pursue STEM. So that's the second piece of advice. Yeah.
2 great pieces of advice. Thank you, So Khim. That's fantastic. And Kevin, we're giving you the last word here of the panel. So what good advice do you have?
I think the number one piece of advice that I would give to all the young girls, females on this call, you can do anything that you want to do. And, you know, you really understanding that and believing in yourself, to me, is so important. And, you know, to me, that is the foundation for, you know, building your confidence, understanding who are those supporters that are around you that can help make you feel good about what it is that you're doing, because that will spur on your interest. You'll start to get wins along the way, and we are seeing success, and nothing breeds success like success. And so get yourself around the right network of people, understand who your champions are, because again, you can do, you can be anything that you want in the world, and you have to understand that, and you have to believe in yourself. So thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. And I want to end on the note that is very important to United Women Singapore. While obviously we advocate, we encourage young girls to step up, be brave, be bold, as you've heard all the panelists say, we also recognize that we cannot do this alone. Right? Which is why mentors, allies are so important, sponsors, so important. Women need to be helping women. But just as important in this process, it's about the men helping the women too. Men can step up, men can clear the way for women. Men can clear the way for women to have a voice at a meeting, help them in a promotion, guide them along their career path. So it leaves me just to thank everybody on the panel, the men and the women in this particular case, because you are all truly inspirational. You are the enlightened ones, obviously speaking from experience, but also guiding along the way our next generation. Literally the theme of today's session, inspiring the next generation of young women in STEM. So once again, everybody, thank you for participating. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your service. Really appreciate it. And there is a feedback form. If you could be so kind as to provide us some feedback, we'd really appreciate it. And thank you again for joining us. Panel, amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.